We good?
1 second. All right, I think we're good.
I'd like to call the February 13th, 2024 City Council meeting to order. Clerk, would you call the roll?
Councilmember Gregg,
Here.
Councilmember Shealy,
Here.
Councilmember McBride,
Here.
Councilmember Mitchell,
Here.
Councilmember Brady,
Present.
Councilmember Gregory, Councilmember Waring, Councilmember Seekings, Councilmember Tinkler, Councilmember Bowden, Councilmember Appel, Councilmember Parker, Mayor Cogswell.
Here. I'd now like to ask Councilmember Gregg, who I hope is feeling better, to lead us in the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let me see if I can get through this without coughing. Please bow your heads. Lord, we thank you for this day. We pray that you would just bless our interactions with one another. We thank you for our city staff and ask that you would continue to bless them as they do their work for our citizens. Lord, I ask that you would just continue to extend your blessing to our city and those around us. In your name I pray, amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, a little bit of housekeeping. If in case of an emergency, we have 2 exit doors here. We have 1 exit door here. There's not an exit door on my left. Please make your way down the stairs and out the building. Do not use the elevator. Moving on, next agenda item is presentations and recognitions. There are no presentations and recognitions on tonight's agenda. So moving on, we are at approval of council minutes.
Move for approval. Second.
I have a move for approval in a second. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Next up, citizen participation period. Madam Clerk, this again, folks, is limited to a total of 30 minutes. How many people have we have signed up?
Yes, so it looks like we have 17 people signed up to speak tonight.
Okay, so 17 will give everybody a minute and a half. And when the clerk will be timing, when she asks you to wrap up, please wrap up within 3 to 5 seconds. Thank you.
All right, the time is a minute and a half, and we will be starting with our in-person list first. The first speaker is Agnes Berry Dixon.
Mayor Cogswell, City Council members, and Chief Walker, thank you for your attention today. I'm reading this in order to stay within my time frame. This is in reference to the kidnapping and brutal rape of a college co-ed on Saturday, February 2nd and into Sunday morning, February 3rd. She had been overserved at the Republic Garden and Lounge located on King Street. This is someone my family and I love and care about tremendously. Predators are walking your streets. People, both young and old, are getting beat up, held at gunpoint, murdered, stabbed, kidnapped, raped, etc. Unfortunately, I have additional stories. I attended the College of Charleston in 1985 through 1989. I felt safe then. I felt safe whether coming home from the library or a bar. I felt safe. That is not the case anymore. Mayor Cogswell and Chief Walker, this is happening on your watch. And it's not getting better. I'm raising this as an issue and want to be a part of the solution. I am looking to you for your leadership to make sure this does not happen again. This has to be a priority for us all. How do we fix this? What steps are going to be taken? How can I help? I do have ideas that I am willing to share with anyone who will listen. I look forward to hearing how we will improve the safety of our streets, and I appreciate your time.
Muhammad Idris. Mr. Idris. Yes, sir. Nakaya Mallard.
Hi, I'm Nakaya Mallard. I am a 23-year-old lifelong citizen of Charleston, South Carolina. The United States looks back in shame of the response to Nazi Germany. 2/3 of Americans partially or wholly blame the Jewish people for their own persecution. And others simply didn't believe the reports of the Holocaust. Few thought we should have intervened and helped. It is ideologies such as these that lead us to the current genocide going on. We cannot continue to let policies and paperwork interfere with the ceasefire resolution. You have watched Israel push them into a corner since 1948, and you willingly helped. Whether you knew their intentions when you should, then you should know them now. Genocide. We can't look back in shame again. We must do something now. For 129 days, we have sat by and watched carpet bombing, the illegal use of white phosphorus, bulldozing of civilians, snipers shooting press and journalists, and many more atrocities committed by Israel. Let's not forget this didn't start October 7th. It started in 1948. How could any of you happily support an apartheid state? I don't believe any of you would have sat by during Nazi Germany, apartheid South Africa, or any other humanitarian crisis in the past. If you would, then why are you here? Ceasefire now. Thank you.
And Mr. Idris, did you want to go now? Okay.
Evening. Ask Idris and get the answer from Muhammad on how our city, county, state, and country is operated. Who is in charge? Who should you call on and be able to get the help you deserve? Again, ask Idris and get the universal answers from Muhammad: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Now, this is what we are working on. And I got help. Our new mayor said he would help in our pursuit of what we are looking for. And what we are looking for is to establish a center on the east side to take Philip Simmons' statue from beneath a tree that looked like he's being hung and put it on a building on Martin Park or somewhere in that area on America Street. And we are going to do that with the help of God and with the help of all good people in this city. And I thank God that I got help from the mayor. He said he would help me. So I'm gonna give each one of you a picture of me and the mayor, a conservative, not a Democrat. We ain't got rid of the donkey. We got an elephant in office now. So we're gonna ask you all to help us get this established. Thank God. Muhammad Idris. Could I pass about, yes. Thank you, sir.
And Josh Alvarado is next.
Hey everyone, my name is Josh Alvarado. I'm a resident of West Ashley, have been all my life. I'm here today to talk to you about what's going on in Palestine. There needs to be a ceasefire right now, right? There are people dying. A ceasefire means no more people are dying. People here that are here have made a resolution. They've emailed it to you, they've given it to you. It doesn't cost money to adopt this resolution. Actually, it's free. So why don't you do it? I'm really like, I have no understanding of why you all haven't done this. Why this group of boys right now I'm talking to specifically, because it's a little boys club we got going on right now. Why haven't y'all done this? Come on. Like the teacher I work with who says to her students, y'all are being lazy. I mean, I'm just being lazy. Some of you more than others. I see and respect many of you for what you've done for this community. But there's some other people who are a little more lazy. So please get to it. Please listen to the voices that are here today to talk to you about Palestine. We're not just here to waste our time. We're not here to waste your time. All right, these are really precious words that are coming from human beings. And I need you all to listen to them, please. Thank you.
Anthony G. Bryant.
I received on my phone the Attorney General of South Carolina, Alan Wilson, who handles on my corporate, which I have a business license in Charleston I haven't used since March of last year. Mr. Wilson handles every aspect of receiving facts from murder to rape to whatever on this phone right now. So Mr. Wilson is saying, this is how all you feel about me. He's the top cop about Anthony G. Bryant and Bryant Group, Inc. And I appreciate that. It means a lot to me. The history of this state is lynching of Black men. So when I heard the College of Charleston and all this stuff being said, what you're saying is we're going to identify Black men in particular and arrest them downtown because we don't want them downtown. That's what's going on. What was said here was no empirical evidence whatsoever to say that Black men downtown shouldn't be downtown. That's what you're saying. You're using rape and all kinds of dark language to justify what you've done to Black people for hundreds of years in South Carolina. Claim that they're about something they're not about. I'm gonna say this. South Carolina is 36% in public health, 46% in violent crime, and been 50% and 40% in education for 50 years. You have created the causation of the repeat offender in this state. You have created your
Time. Marcus McDonald. Matt Mossberg.
I attempted to show up last time with some prepared notes, and that didn't really work very well for me because I'm just not that good at it. Kind of wanted to see if I could make eye contact with y'all and let you understand my sincere intentions, my sincere concerns about how this is being handled by the city, about how you as our representatives are handling us. And if any of you are confused what I'm talking about, I am talking about our ongoing demand that the city draft a ceasefire resolution for the calamity that's going on in Gaza and has been 4 months. And it affects those people, and those people should be considered first, but it affects your community right now. I'm scared to speak in public. I'm a little scared about expressing these sorts of views in the state that we live in, but I know people who are Palestinian or who are from the Arab world in general, who are much more terrified to speak their truth because of what this community might do to them. And I just want you to know that your constituents need this. They need your leadership, and they need to hear that we demand a ceasefire. Thank you.
Ed Sutton.
How's it going? A little bit of change of course tonight. You guys and gals get beat up a good bit. I'm here to commend you, particularly the Traffic and Safety Commission earlier tonight, or committee earlier tonight, with passing unanimously the resolution for Better North Bridge. That is going to be a monumental project for West Ashley. So I want to commend y'all for passing it earlier. Hopefully full council follows the same thing. And a couple stats to throw at you real quick is 3 of the last 4 people that have died on that bridge died going to work. There are folks that live in North Charleston trying to get to their where they work in West Ashley and died. I've said this at council before. It's a council county council. So county council is leading this project. We have an imperative duty to make sure that people can get to their work safely, especially if they don't have a car. So thank you for showing the willingness to support this project. As you know, this resolution will go into the big file that will be submitted with the RAISE grant. It will help our scoring with the feds coming up here this summer. So again, a big thank you for supporting this project with Better North Bridge.
Autumn Waddell.
Good evening. I'm a Charleston resident, and I demand that the Charleston City Council pass an emergency resolution calling for an immediate and permanent ceasefire in Gaza and for sufficient humanitarian aid to be let in. I'm here because our federal government is failing us. It is failing to act in the interests of the American people by sending our money and resources to support a genocide on the other side of the earth rather than investing it into our communities. Our president is ignoring the cries for peace coming from the American people in favor of catering to the interests of money and power. They're refusing to hear our voices, which is why we turn to our local leaders and ask that you hear our collective voices, heed our demands, and act not only in service to our interests, but to those of dignity, democracy, and above all, humanity. As Americans, it is our unique duty to say not with our money and not in our name. I ask you to put people first and make it clear that Charleston does not condone senseless civilian violence, starvation, torture, displacement, and mass murder. We cannot stand by any longer and watch innocent men, women, and children experience incomprehensible horrors without condemning it and calling for an end. I ask the Charleston City Council to show enough common human decency right now to stand on the right side of history. It's not hard to say enough is enough. Thank you.
Katie Zimmerman.
Good evening. I'm not going to mess with that. Good evening, all. My name is Katie Zimmerman. I'm Executive Director of Charleston Moves. And Mr. Sutton's comments were spot on. I just want to thank Traffic and Transportation Committee for supporting the resolution in support of the Better North Bridge grant. So thank you for that. We are helping Charleston County with that federal grant application. And I hope that full city council approves the resolution as well. That would be so helpful. I think we're up to 111 letters of support from community entities and elected officials so far. We'd like to match what we did with the Ashley River Bridge and hit 200. So also, if you have any connections with any of our Congress people who might also be willing to help, I'd love to hear from you and get your help on that. So thank you so much.
Does our support count as 13 or 1?
Probably 1, but we're going to list out a table of contents, so they'll see exactly what each letter represents.
Tamara Alkia.
Hello, how are you guys? Good. How was your Super Bowl weekend? Okay, quick question for you guys. How many of y'all were cheering for the 49ers? Raise your hand. You were? Okay. Damn, tough crowd. How many of you guys were cheering for the Chiefs? Raise your hand. Come on, none of you guys watch football? I know more of you guys were cheering them on. You guys probably had a good weekend then, right? I am sad to say, though, that that wasn't the case for Palestinians around the world, because while you guys were enjoying the Super Bowl, we were witnessing the dystopian disregard for the 67 Palestinians who were bombed during the time that the Super Bowl was taking place in Rafah, an apparent safe zone from the genocide where over 1.4 million people seek refuge. Palestinians worldwide mourn the death of Hind, a 6-year-old girl whose body was found 12 days after Israeli occupational forces murdered her entire family. Hind was the only survivor at the time and had contacted paramedics to come and rescue her. And this was the call that she had made.
انا يا حبيبتي رح اجي اخذك هلا عمو من الايران عماله عم بنصك عشان احنا نقدر نيجي ناخذك حواليكي في دار بركات.
Time.
Unfortunately, Hind and the paramedics who went to save her were also targeted and murdered. So I'm asking you all today, do you condemn the murder of an innocent girl? If you do, please raise your hand now. None of you condemn murder for a 6-year-old girl?
Time.
Okay.
Tyler Clapper.
If you condemn the murder of Hind, raise your hand now. This is why we ask you guys to call for a permanent and immediate ceasefire now.
Tyler Clapper.
Dr. Cornell West states, indifference to evil is more insidious than evil itself. Following October 7th, the council demonstrated immense moral clarity by taking a stand for the innocent lives lost. We have now learned that many, if not most of those innocents were not targeted specifically, and many were also lost due to the IDF's crossfire. But since the Israeli counter invasion began, this council has been indifferent to the 30,000 Palestinian lives lost, 12,300 of which were children, a large portion of them born after the bombings began. Children of 0 years who had 0 years. Babies who only ever knew fear and starvation were slaughtered. Where is the pro-life crowd now? They are being targeted and punished for a situation that Israel and the United States foreign policy brought about in the first place by propping up Hamas prior to the 2006 election, along with the continued maintenance of an oppressive apartheid state. And no matter what you believe the end solution should be, one state, two state, ethno-states, of course, with the end of Hamas authority. But whatever you may support, if you not first support a ceasefire, you are indifferent, insidious, and complicit to the evil actions that have murdered and dehumanized 30,000 innocent Palestinians. And don't let them fool you about this being a rescue mission. The IDF has killed Israeli hostages waving white flags, and you'd be silly to believe the indiscriminate bombing hasn't harmed or killed them, and many more as well. Ceasefire now. Thank you.
Tony Daniel.
Mayor, for 3.5 years, I've been coming here to council. Y'all have argued that this street with trees, a fence, and designated dead-end sign from the highway department is an open road. How can that be? Please let this be the last time that I have to appear before city council and say this is not an open road. That is the law. Your lawyers wrote and said, we cannot close a road. The road has to be open. Why is this still existing in my neighborhood? All this traffic goes by my house. You have devalued my property. You have disturbed my family. You have made it dangerous. Sir, you were talking about danger of the roads. Is that a dangerous road or not? Is that an open road to you? I bet I could get a summary judgment in 2 minutes if I take this and show it to a judge and say, is this an open road with the dead end sign? Please consider fixing this. Thank you very much.
Jerome Harris.
Jerome Harris, co-chair of the Human Affairs and Racial Conciliation Commission. When I thank the city council members who've taken the time to appoint their representatives to the HARC, and those of you who've also done so for CPAC. Because of what I'm told from consultation with the mayor's staff, the existing portal that lists boards and commissions and gives people opportunity to apply is being reconstructed. I urge you to make that a priority. The 200 people who came out to the ERA participation, the union peer meetings, all represent citizens who don't come to city council. I think there are vast resources that we should tap into. So I urge you to, I know the city clerk's got a lot on her plate, to put the resources necessary to get that portal back up and to figure out ways that we can increase citizen participation, folks who want to volunteer and put the city first. Thank you.
Dr. Safana Siddiqui.
Hi, Mr. Mayor and City Council members. I'm here once again with my community to speak in support of the emergency ceasefire resolution put forth by the Free Palestine Charleston group. A lot of what I had to say has already been said already. I don't know what I can say to convince you of the humanity of Palestinians or why I would even have to. But since I last came here, I think 3 weeks ago, another nearly 10,000 Palestinians have been killed. And that is 10,000 lives that could have been saved by a ceasefire at that time. And this doesn't include the 8,000 people that have been buried alive in the rubble of their homes, with a total estimate of 30,000 people dead. The International Court of Justice has found reasonable evidence that Israel is committing a genocide. And as Tamara pointed out on Super Bowl Sunday, Israel attacked Rafah, which is the location that they told Palestinians they would be safe. This is a refugee camp holding 1.5 million Palestinians, and they attacked that place. This is ethnic cleansing. This is a clear ethnic cleansing. And if you can't agree with me on that. If you can't agree with that truth or the truth that we put before you, at least we can all agree that every life is precious. And we can't save lives. Saving lives starts with a ceasefire. And I think that's the bare minimum. It's time we join all the other cities, including most recently Chicago, San Francisco, St. Louis, among dozens of others, and call for a ceasefire. And until then, we will keep showing up and we will keep advocating for a free Palestine.
Austin Doyle. And if you're online, you can press *6 to unmute yourself.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Austin Doyle. I live in West Ashley. Especially in lieu of the recent conversation, I just want to remind everybody we have a terrific community. Thank you all for being here. You know, we definitely want to be supporting our brothers and sisters and spreading love right now. I'd also like to welcome Mayor Cogswell to the organization. We're really excited about all the triumphs you guys are going to continue to have. Reason I came initially, I'm elected to my local board of directors for my homeowners association. Live in the West Ashley area, excited to hear hopefully the lack of progress for the Lake Daughter drainage report, but frankly, just want to follow up. So my neighbors and my community, we actually live on a road, Henry Tecklenburg. It's right by emergency services of the hospital, crossing the organ donor enhancement location for people to heal. Basically, the wetlands that is protected behind our house is the Carolina Bay Property Owners Association, and we kayak there, we live there, it's a bird estuary. We were told when we built there, in our dream to have a family and live there, they would be safe. 41 residents in the townhome, Marshside towns, were already flood zone AE. So we really are excited to hopefully have you guys support us and keep us safe. For my members, any increase in cost for flood insurance, we know that in 2023, climate change named us one of the top most vulnerable cities in the country for the first time ever. Please help defend us and support us. We got a great community and neighborhood. We're excited to have a great group of people commuting, you know, really contributing to the community, but please don't put us at a disadvantage. Thank you.
And then the next speaker, they did not leave a name. They just wrote Marshside Towns at Carolina Bay, but there is no name. All right. And is Marcus McDonald here? Oh.
I believe that may have been my community who was nominating me. I also came as an individual just to put a name and a face. We thank you for your time and appreciate hearing later today what the answer is.
Okay, thank you. Mr. McDonald?
Happy Black History Month. My name is Marcus McDonald. Y'all celebrate Black History Month. I just want to double check because a lot of times when I come up to speak or when other Black folks come up to speak, y'all ignore them. But then y'all say, listen to Black people, listen to Black voices. While I'm talking to you now, you probably won't hear a lot of people who look like me throughout your day. Some of you, Councilmember Metro, he sees me every third Thursday at our food giveaway. But I stand inside of my people before and calling for immediate ceasefire resolution. This is something that city must take action on immediately. Y'all took immediate action, as somebody said before, on other issues. A lot of y'all do international things. A lot of y'all went to the Bahamas trip last year. I know some of y'all did internationally. And Bahamas stood in solidarity with Palestine, calling for a ceasefire on the UN level. And I want to say that we must recognize that we say we live in a country that means freedom, or it says it stands for liberty and justice for all. What does it mean when we stand in silence when not only Palestinians have been living under apartheid system, but they're living under a genocide right now? As somebody said before, babies who was born a couple of months ago, a 12-year-old hanging off the building. And some of y'all smirking, I don't know why. It's an important issue. And y'all make me sick sometimes, but I would say this, that some of y'all should be ashamed of yourself for saying nothing on this issue. What y'all would have done in this chambers 100 years ago when Orangeburg, not even 100 years ago, the Orangeburg massacre, what would y'all have done? Y'all would have said nothing. And there was a council member who said he had a kafia back in the day. Well, we ain't getting no younger, so please put it back on and organize and let's get this ceasefire passed, because again, people continue to die, bro. Like, let's work out something together. Thank you.
And those were all the speakers that we had signed up. We did receive some comments online. All of the comments were sent to council in full. This is just a summary of those received. We had one comment received from Zach Basidi stating that the city government should move quickly to bid out the approved pedicab decals and stated that the process had dragged on and caused undue burdens. 29 comments were received urging council to pass an emergency resolution calling for a ceasefire in Gaza and for humanitarian aid to be let in. We also received some comments from Mr. Daniel and Mr. Bryant, who spoke earlier, and those were forwarded to council. We also received one petition from 28 citizens just asking council to maintain all quality of life policing methods, to vigorously defend the methods and support the police in enforcement of quality of life violations. And those were all the comments we received.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Moving on, we're going to go into petitions and communications. Would like to call on Councilmember Brady for a report on the Ad Hoc Rules Advisory Committee.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Ad Hoc Rules Advisory Committee met on January 25th to discuss some of the matters that were referred to it by City Council. I will read the recommendations here in a second that I'm going to ask that council adopt in addition to an ordinance amendment related to council member administrative expenses. But one of the items that we discussed, and I want to thank my fellow nerds and Robert Rules enthusiasts that were with us on, or council members that were on the call. And Mayor Cogswell and the clerk's office had a great recommendation about standing committees and how we go through with that schedule so that we adhere to what the Rules Committee had forwarded out and was approved, I believe it was almost a year and a half ago now, about the 2-week kind of lag time between things that may be approved. So as an example, because this hasn't been approved yet, tonight, Traffic and Transportation met at 3 o'clock, and we're going to be voting on the Better Northbridge resolution. And so some people may not have had time to review that with a meeting being right before. But I'm going to let Mayor Cogswell and Madam Clerk talk through and present exactly what this schedule kind of means before I ask you guys to vote on this.
Sure. Thank you, Chairman Brady. It's pretty straightforward, folks. We're basically looking to split up the council member meetings where the first council meeting will be all committee reports, and the second council meeting of the month will be for public hearing. I think that will give an opportunity for more public input, and most importantly, as Chairman Brady pointed out, it would give us approximately 2 weeks between committee meetings and actually voting on the item at City Council. So plenty of time for people to discuss, socialize, get educated on the given actions. So we're not coming in here with the paper still hot, as I think Councilman Waring pointed out one time. So that's the general gist of this breaking up of the council sessions.
All right.
Can I just ask a quick question while it's on our minds? How are we going to handle June, July, and August?
They're going to stay the same, just as they are now.
Okay.
So this would only apply to our regular meeting months where we have 2 a month.
Does anyone else have any questions on the meeting schedule? I think this is going to help members digest as we go through. And this is just confirming the schedule of something that was already approved by City Council. Okay. Oh, yep. Councilmember Shealy.
Thank you. Just wanted to check. I think this only affects the meetings that are happening on a bi-monthly basis. The meetings that are happening monthly would stay pretty much the same. Is that correct? Or are we going to move? I guess maybe we would have to shift those too, I guess, if they're going to need to be a week or 2 out.
I think what we would try to do is have most of those committee meetings during that 3rd week of the month and right up to the 2nd council meeting of the month, just because you don't want to have them too early. You don't want to have too much time because you want to remember what happened. But what will happen is you'll have, and I'll have to, if everyone is okay with it, I'll reach out to the chairs just to see, which day time they prefer. But we would have all of those meetings in between the two council meetings, and then the reports would come forward at the following meeting, the next month, the first meeting. So we just need to have everything held before that second meeting of the month.
Great, thank you.
Councilmember Waring.
I think I was before that. My question, oh, I'm sorry.
No, oh, no, that's, sorry.
My question is, how do we deal with time-sensitive things? I think you and I had this discussion a little earlier.
Yes, sir. So the only sort of sticky thing would be when we have something that's time sensitive. And I mean, we have that happen now when we're on a quicker schedule. So those items I'm sure will still come up occasionally, and we'll just have to, we'll still have ways and means before every city council meeting. So we would need to bring forward any urgent items like that to Ways and Means and just make sure the chair of whatever corresponding committee is notified.
Right, because some things are just as simple as the application deadline.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Right, so we've, Councilman Gregory, we talked with staff about this. We understand there may be a little bit of an adjustment period, but and this is reflective of me and you all as council members. When we have items, I mean, we're going to have to just think a little bit of ahead. I mean, it's not perfect, but and as opposed to the alternative, I think it's a lot more efficient.
Councilmember Waring.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think it's a great idea. Madam Clerk, can you tell us, does this help you and your staff?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think it will help I think the goal for the mayor was to help make the council meetings run a little smoother. And so that will certainly help on our end, just when we're transcribing the minutes. It'll be helpful for y'all because you'll have an opportunity to review everything 2 weeks before.
Right.
And so I think that was a concern of some council members, that not everyone had an opportunity. If you're not serving on a particular committee, you don't have the opportunity to vet something the way a committee member might, or you may not, have an opportunity to present any questions until the actual council meeting, which may be happening the next day. So I don't think it would make huge difference on our office, but I think it would actually be more helpful to us than harmful.
You described succinctly, we all resemble that remark. Those of us who are not on the committee don't have the chance to review it, so I think it's a great idea.
All right. So with that, I'll go over the recommendations, two of which we have just talked about. But I'd like to move that we approve the following recommendations from the Ad hoc Rules Committee to include: standing committee reports will be held at the first city council meeting of the month. Public hearings to be held at the second meeting of the month. And I think for a lot of people, this is pretty good. We're going to add a consent agenda category to council agendas for committee reports that do not require the action of council. So if the committee meeting was just information only, that will be added or will be separated out and just be adopted as a consent agenda. And there was robust discussion over this, and this is kind of what we settled on, but we're going to prioritize speakers speaking on listed agenda items first for public comment period, so that they are given the chance to go first. So anyone else speaking still gets that opportunity, but we want to make sure things are germane to the agenda. And then for item B, I would ask, and if you have any questions, we can feel free to talk about it as well, but give first reading to the categories that were recommended for council member administrative expenses that you can submit for reimbursement as you go about your official duties.
Before we vote on that, there was one other item, if I may, and maybe it didn't make it into the report, just a bit of it's a small thing, but limiting each council meeting to having no more than 2 proclamations.
I didn't include that in the report, Mr. Mayor, because that is your executive prerogative, because you have the ability to set the agenda.
So we have I'm sorry, I don't.
As far as I heard, there was a motion in a second.
Who was the second? I'm sorry. Okay, thank you.
Was it me that I say all those in favor, say aye? Okay.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Ayes have it. Great. Thank you, thank you. Now we are on to council communications, of which there are none, and moving on to council committee reports. I'd like to call on council. Oh, I'm sorry.
We didn't put a figure with the administrative dollars, right?
I believe it's 2,600 per council member. And that's separate from your travel. That's a separate pot of money.
Any other questions related to the ad hoc rules?
Yeah, when we don't use the money, it goes back, right?
I couldn't hear you.
When we don't use that particular funds, it goes back wherever.
Yes, sir. That's
wherever.
correct. Yes, sir. It goes back to the city.
Yeah, because I never used it. I don't know what happened.
I don't get to keep it either.
I don't use it.
Okay, moving on to council committee reports, like to call on Councilmember Parker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Committee on Human Resources was held Thursday, February 8th, 2024 at 4 p.m. We had a staffing and retention update. Things seem to be moving in the right direction. We'll get another update next month. Our compensation study, a provider has been selected, more to come. So that's exciting because I think that we're going to have a lot more information coming out of the Human Resources Committee with that. So a lot of good work being done. And then, of course, the hourly work week discussion and workday implementation, their HR is working on, we're going from paper to that workday digital, our employees won't have to use paper anymore. And that's it. The meeting was purely informational, so I moved to adopt it as amended with Carl being added to the previous minutes.
I don't think there's no action actually.
I think it's just
required on
I
this.
think it's just information.
Informational,
Yes.
yeah, just accept the report as is.
All right, moving on to Committee for Public Safety, Councilmember Shealy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yesterday, Committee on Public Safety met at 2:00. I had a family emergency, so I wasn't able to lead the meeting. And I do want to thank Councilman Mitchell for doing a great job, especially at last minute. I appreciate him picking up and doing that. I did review it on YouTube, so I can report out. There were two items that were actually voted on. First, the police department was an approval to submit an application for the 2024-2025 SRO grant program in the amount of $412,081.06. That grant will provide continuation funding for 3 SROs at CCSD schools. There's no match for that. And also the fire department, there was an approval to enter into a no-cost MOU with the International Association of Fire Chiefs to participate in their International Firefighter Exchange Program. And there's no financial impact to the city with this program. So I'd like to move that we approve those two if we could, please.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you. And then Chief Walker did give us an update from the police department. He was using a 5-year crime trend chart to show us some things. Violent crime was below where it was expected to be off of a 5-year grid. Property crime had a slight uptick in burglary. And he said that having our own DNA laboratory will help us to be able to combat property crimes by identifying property crime offenders. So he feels like we should be able to improve on that in the future. There's a growing trend of drug offenses. A lot of training is going on out in the community, professional trainings, school and community outreach, public engagement, and over 1,000 Narcan kits have been distributed in our community. But there were 55 overdose deaths. And this is an epidemic not just in our city, but nationwide. And it is certainly a focus for our police department. A lot of us here on council are familiar with Jerome Smalls. He's going to be our is our youth program coordinator now for the police department. I'm excited about that. I know many of you are. There'll also be a Hispanic community coordinator. They're working on hiring right now. There's also getting ready to be a staffing and facility needs assessment, where they're going to be looking at vacancies, not only current vacancies, but what other additional needs may be needed in the police department from a staffing standpoint, and also facilities and spatial needs for us. Currently, the police department does have 46 vacancies right now we're working on. There's a Smart Policing Initiative grant, $800,000 in grants to reduce crime and traffic incidents by targeting hotspots and involving the community. We have safety and security cameras that need to be updated, and those cameras need to expand beyond the downtown area where we have most or almost all, I guess, now. And the Central Business District is still a focus for the police department, and a action plan is being updated right now. Chief Curria from the fire department gave us a report as well. Out of 427 positions, we have 14 vacancies in operations, which is a 3.8% vacancy rate. They strive to keep it under 5%, so we're under 5 right now. But there is a fire academy that's going to be starting in July that should bring us up to full staff. Outside operations has 10 vacancies, but there's hiring processes in place right now to replace all those or fill all those vacancies. 2023 emergency operations, there was a goal of the first unit being on scene within 7 minutes and 30 seconds. All fire calls were within that parameter in 2023. For medical calls, we're working with Consolidated Dispatch, the Consolidated Dispatch Center, to improve response times, to see how we can work together, which should improve overall times for our fire department as well. There were no fire deaths in the city of Charleston in 2023, so that was very good news. As far as facilities, 17 fire stations are in operations. 2 are rented facilities in Cainhoy. We're working to acquire land now for those facilities. And Station 18 on Daniel Island is going through renovation. Over the past 5 years, about a third of our fire stations have been renovated. We have 4 stations currently needing rebuilds, and those are in West Ashley, Johns Island, 2 in Cainhoy. We'll need another firehouse in Cainhoy to keep up with the growth that's going on there. Long term, we'll need 1 or 2 firehouses on Daniel Island and 3 on Johns Island. And in retention efforts, the salary for high school graduates with no advanced degree coming right out of high school is $48,000. They complete their 6-month training, that increases to $50,740. Cost of living is an issue in exit interviews, according to Chief Curria. So obviously, cost of living in Charleston, we all know about. There is a need to roll the fire marshal's division into the fire department pay plan. Only sworn segment not in the fire department pay plan. So Charleston Fire Department is not as diverse as we would like for it to be. There is an RFP to help us work through diversity and inclusion, and they've chosen a vendor, but the amount of funds needed was higher than predicted, so that's being worked out right now. Emergency management update, Ben Almquist gave us an update. His first priority is the 2024 hazard mitigation plan. Contractors going through the final draft, and this will take data from studies and put it into an action plan to better prepare the city for a disaster. It should be done at the end of April, and will help with us to be able to get some grant funding. Second priority is emergency alert and warning system, which will quickly and efficiently communicate internally and externally in the event of emergency. Completed internal testing successfully. The next step is the external testing, hoping to be done in March and complete everything by May. Policies and procedure manual is being rewritten. They're making sure fundamental policies are in place. Completion should be done in April. Mr. Almquist has reviewed the emergency operations plan, and it's being rewritten. And the Emergency Operations Center Committee, which is made up of people all across the city, will help update that. Urban flooding detection program, locating flooding hotspots and install cameras, flood water sensors, and digital signage to prevent people from driving through high hazard areas. We're updating the manual for the Cooper River Bridge Run, so every year they'll know what process is supposed to look like. Helping to find volunteers and resources and make sure the bridge run is as safe as possible. Getting ready for hurricane season, a lot of events and training exercises and improving public awareness. In volunteer management, we have a significant need for volunteers to train our neighbors, church groups on how to respond, train communities on how to take care of themselves. The emergency operations training program, we're going to have 4 annual exercises and an activation drill to activate the MEOC and have personnel come in and do simulated exercises. There will be at the end a full-scale exercise to simulate an event. There is also approval to, you know what, that actually concludes my report. All right.
Councilman Gregory?
Yeah. Can you break down, you said there's a reduction in violence.
Can you use your microphone just so everyone can hear you?
You
Thank
said there is a reduction in violent crime, right? And I think nationally that's happening.
The violent crime is less than what had been predicted on this 5-year chart.
Okay.
I don't,
But what does that mean?
Deputy Chief Weiss, I don't mean to put you on the spot, and I know you didn't.
You'll need to come to the microphone just so we can pick you up on the recording.
Violent crime is down, right? Can you break that down?
Can you, I need you to
get the
talk.
numbers
Thank
to you. That's just the overall, which would include robbery, homicide, shooting, sexual assaults. So over the 5-year trend, we are down at this point where we were February of each year for the past 5 years. What we've been trying to do is not just compare this year to last year, because we need to be looking at the overall trend for at least 5 years or so we can try to project where things are going to happen and what's going on. I think the reason why we're focusing on that is because things like, say, auto thefts, if you only look at last year, spring break may have been a different week than last year for a high school. You may have a lot of juveniles stealing cars or breaking into cars throughout the city. When you look at the 5-year trend, you can notice at the same point in April, those things are happening. So trying to project out and use our data that we're trying to pull together to look at those things. But we can get you the exact numbers for each year. This year, our homicide was down. Right now, we're down 1 homicide compared to the 5-year trend. By now, we've had our first homicide.
You're down 1 from where?
From each year for the past 5 years.
No.
Like last year,
How many homicides did we have this year, last year?
last year we had 9.
Okay.
Year before we had 10. This year we've had 0. By February of last year, we had already had our first homicide.
Okay, that's all I wanted.
And yes, if I may, Councilman Gregory, not to belabor the point, but I have spoken with the chief, and the data collection that we have now is significantly better than it has been. And we are looking at standard reporting forms, including the 5-year trend versus year over year, so that it'll be easy to track, year over year and where we are on a 5-year trend with the same categories, if you will, on a consistent basis.
Thank you. Thanks for that.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Jack.
I'm sorry, Mr. Waring, Councilman Waring.
Thank you. Can you go back, Councilman Shealy, on the diversity issue? You said it was being, I think I wrote down, it was being worked out. The consultant came up with more money than we had budgeted.
So council approved, I believe, $70,000
Right.
Toward this.
Okay.
When the vendors came through, we needed more money than what
Right.
council had approved.
And the vendor wanted how much?
I believe it was 140, Chief Curry?
Okay.
140,000, I believe.
Chief, can you come to the microphone? Thank you. This is something, Mr. Mayor, obviously we've had an issue with for years, and we're trying to get some tangible action steps.
Yes, sir.
The amount for the consultant is about how much? 140 what?
$140,000.
So that difference, roughly a $70,000
Correct.
difference. Do we have worked out where those dollars gonna come from?
I am communicating with Amy Wharton to see if it's going to come out of the fire department's budget or whether something can be found within the city finances for that.
Okay, I mean, do we have that ability to get it out the existing budget, or the mayor and council need to step up?
Amy's out this week,
Right.
so as soon as Amy gets back, I'll be able to have that conversation with her. I was delayed a little
No
bit.
problem, no problem.
But I should have an answer for you probably next week.
Okay, thank you.
We have, Councilman Gregg.
Sorry, I'm trying to unmute myself. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess my question on this is, do our hiring practices in the fire department differ from the police department or any of the other departments in the city where we do have appropriate levels of diversity? Because if not, then it seems that, this would be something very, shouldn't we be looking at this as like the city as a whole, I guess, would be my question. And how would this address the issue if our hiring practices and recruitment policies are the same across the board? Does that make sense? How are we specifically going to address why do we need to specifically address diversity in the fire department if the hiring practices and our recruitment policies are the same across the city? Because it seems that this would just be I hate to say it, but an anomaly in the fire department that we might not be able to address with a $140,000 consultant.
May I? Oh, I'm sorry.
Let's let the chief.
Yeah.
The question, I believe, Councilman Gregg was asked to the chief.
Yes, sir. So when you compare the fire department's diversity or lack of diversity to the city, there is a marked difference. For example, in 2023, as of mid-July 2023, the city had 25.11% African-American workforce. The Charleston Fire Department had a 3.33% workforce. With women versus men in the fire department in the same period of time, the city's population of male workers was just under 71%. The fire department's population of male workers was pushing 97%. So if you do the quick math on that, the city's female worker population was at 29%. The fire department's was at 3.33%. So we do have a big difference just in the fire department.
Yeah, I mean, there's no question there's a discrepancy.
Yeah, I understand there's a discrepancy. Maybe you could ask a follow-up question is, how do our diversity numbers in the city of Charleston compare to other municipalities in the Southeast? Maybe that would be a better question, because I've read studies about this that say that, like, for whatever reason, I hate to say this, fire departments attract white males. That's a job that white males prefer. I know that's a bad thing to say in this day and age, but if that's the case, then I guess my question is a $140,000 consulting contract going to be able to address that issue? Or is this just some bias that exists in society?
I think that if we speak in general terms, if we're talking about the Southeast, the fire departments typically do have more white male workers in the workforce. However, it's been my experience that to have the numbers that the Charleston Fire Department has are abnormal. They're askew. And
all right, that answers the question.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councilman Gregg.
If I may, if I may.
Were you?
I'm sorry. Okay. And I think that's a part of the reason why HARC is so necessary. There's such a thing as systemic discrimination in the country. And in order to get at that, okay, you need an organization to dig in and see whether or not, and I'm not talking about anything that's intentional necessarily either, but it could be as simple as a policy, some policy that's there, okay? It could be as simple as when you're advertising, you show all white males, okay? When you show all white males, as an African American, that says I'm not welcome, okay? The same as in housing. If you show me an apartment complex with white models, I'm not welcome there. So to me, I think what this vendor is going to attempt to do is to see whether or not there's something systemic that's causing our numbers to be where they are. And and I admire our fire department for self-executing this, to look at themselves and say that there may be an issue here. There may not be. But I think we owe it to the women, because they're missing from our fire department. We owe it to African Americans and Hispanics. They're missing from our fire department. We just need to take a look to see whether or not there's anything that might be causing us to get the unintended results that we do get. We're not saying discrimination is occurring, but I do think we owe, as a city, an opportunity to take a look, just as we did with our fire department. No, I mean, police department, where we did identify some biases, totally different kinds of organizations. But what I'm saying is, to get at something that is systemic and institutionalized, okay, it's going to take an outside objective vendor to look at the function.
Thank you, Councilman Gregory. Councilman Mitchell?
Yes, in town, the public safety meeting, I brought that up. I asked that same question pertaining to African American, because normally if you see me, I'm out in the streets. And when the fires happen, I'm always there. And if I look around, I said, I don't see nobody look like me around here at all. And it's always that way. So I mentioned it to the chief, and this was brought up a long time ago to try to get some diversity in the fire department, which they're supposed to be working on. And I asked them also if we going into the schools, the high schools, to see what we can pull out from the high school seniors, to see if, and let them know what the fire department is doing, what they're paying, what, you know, and all the kind of things that they can receive from the fire department. And he mentioned that they're doing that. They're working with St. John High School right now. But I said we also have Berkeley, have these other different schools here in the peninsula and the city of Charleston, that we can reach out to these schools with the seniors. And maybe this might bring some of the younger people back into the fold into the fire department. But I told them that we have to just do more. I think we didn't do as much a good job that we should have been doing. Because I remember in the fire department, if you remember, and I think, Mr. Mayor, you might remember too, the fire department was always diverse. And if you go on Cummings Street, that was it. You know, and even every place else, you had these fire department, they was there. They had fire chief, they had battalion chief, but once they left and they died out, they were not placed back by by an African-American person. It was not. And I'm just saying facts. And I can tell you facts. I was here. So this is what I was saying to him. I said, well, we can go into the schools, and maybe by going into the schools, the high schools, because they're saying that you can have a high school graduate and could make this type of money and they can elevate themselves. So we need to start that way too, because some of the kids not going to school, but they can go to Trident Tech and receive something from Trident Tech and still get into the fire department. So this is what I was alluding to at the time, and that's what the chief is they're alluding and trying to get into that now. So I think that might play a bigger part in trying to get diversity into the fire department too.
And I would applaud the chief for his efforts as well. I think he's been proactive. One recommendation might be, or just question perhaps, on the scope, because it's not just about identifying unknown biases that might exist, but I'm hopeful that with this price tag, assuming we can figure out a way to fund it, which will be my goal to figure that out, that it would also come with some recommendations for recruitment and the like, not just telling you what the problem is.
Most definitely. It was all encompassing, different facets of the fire department, from recruitment to training to what we need to provide to our incumbent members as well as people who are coming into the organization.
Thank you, Chief. Councilman Parker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will return to the HR committee. That was noted. So there were some discussions about, just going into the schools and producing these types of results where we want to get more people activated, go into school, some might not have a path after their senior year. And this is we have wonderful opportunities at the city. So I did request that they bring us a list of schools that they are doing that in right now. And because I certainly think that we are missing out on some of the schools that I've been in, we do not right now. And so we will start, my hope and my plan through the HR committee is that we will start doing that.
Just want to point out one thing, Councilmember Shealy listed a lot of facts that you guys talked about, and one of them I'd heard was three fire departments short for Johns Island. I understand that there is one going to be built this year, which is great. Even after that one's built, two more will be required. And my question is to the chief. My understanding is when I met with you before that when the new city fire department's built, the St. John's Fire Department will be moving off the island. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Which
They'll be moving down towards Kiowa.
Okay.
From their Maybank Highway Firehouse.
Okay. And then that will require two more city fire departments based on the population growth on Johns Island.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll just applaud again the chief he has a long-range plan on where the stations are needed. It really helps in terms of trying to identify locations. We've got not just Johns Island, but the Cainhoy Peninsula that we're working on. That's also part of the recruiting effort too. Some of the stations that are there, people don't want to go to. So we're going to work with the chief's office on identifying the definitive locations for these, and we'll be coming back to y'all with a report. Brady.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And this Councilmember McBride jogged my memory. But one of the things I think that I want to commend Chief Curia on was as we look at population growth, I had a meeting at the COG on Monday, and by 2035, so 10 years from now, the metropolitan area's population is going to be just shy of 1 million people. And so thinking as the fire department projecting out, what do we need to cover fire service, I think is really important. And I think it's something that I think this council, along with public safety and human resources, to think about the police department as well. Like, where should we have more substations as we look into the community, as we look at population growth, even if they're not staffed full-time, looking at as we build fire departments, making sure there's touchdown stations, that as our police officers go fill out reports, that we have that ability, that they're out in the communities, being able to do that, even if it's not just a full substation. And so, I think this is the way that we kind of have to think as we look at, people are coming, whether we like it or not. And it is incumbent on all of us, especially as fiduciaries of the taxpayers, that we are making sure that the level of services aren't going to dip as we have more people coming in and paying taxes and going that. So I want to commend Chief Curia for that report, and then also ask that we just kind of keep that in the back of our minds as we go through and are making decisions. So
And
thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Just for clarity too, or just point of information, that I've talked to the chief Walker about the same thing. He too is looking at doing a long-range plan for coverage, because you're absolutely right. We need to be well ahead of that as the population continues to grow. Okay, we've got Councilman Bowden.
Sorry, I'll be quick. Councilmember Shealy, for the police department update, we heard so much about, and I think with good reason, this revolving door, people get out on bond and, it takes so long to adjudicate a case that they commit additional crimes and kind of having the problem, same people over and over again committing violent crimes. Did the police department's update address whatever impact they're seeing from the legislature's changes to our bond laws?
I don't think he went into I don't think he went into any.
Okay, and I don't even know if our data can get at that yet.
He has approached it with me. We have a lot of the state legislators in town this week. There's a legislative reception on Thursday night and plan on hammering them on that because the PR bond issue is a big issue with the police department. Councilman Parker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And Councilmember Shealy, just on 2D, I just really want to commend the police department and whoever is going after those grants. I mean, I don't really think those SROs are such a big deal. And I think I would love for your committee to bring to us, because this isn't the first time. I mean, we've seen this multiple times. I would love to know how many schools in our city have SROs. I would say that we're almost close to fulfilling that need. I'm going out on a ledge here, but, you know, the county cannot do it. So we, as a city, step in and I mean, as a mom, I know others have asked me, having these SROs at schools are so important. So the fact that the city is filling in those gaps for the county is huge. But so I would love those numbers if
Yeah,
if you
we can get those pretty easily.
And then just commend whoever's going after these grants because it's pretty incredible to be able to
Yeah.
supply that. So thank
We-
you.
We can get that list. In fact, we've voted on some of those, you know, as a city council. So I know we have those figures. We can get that.
One more thing, it's pretty quick, Mr. Mayor. I just, asked the council members, you know, Councilman Shealy was there, you know, at the, public safety meeting because of his mother took ill.
Right.
So I would like each one of us to pray for his mother, you know, to see, you know, to make sure she gets a speedy recovery. And, so that's one thing I want to throw out because I believe in this type of thing. So, you know, that's just the way I am.
Amen.
Thank you, Councilman Mitchell.
Okay, anything else from Councilman or Chairman Shealy? All right, moving on, we have report from Committee for Public Works. Chairman.
Listen, in deference.
I don't want y'all to mess up my time.
In deference to public safety and the wholesome conversation we have, I want to thank the chief. Certainly want to thank the mayor and council for all the input we got there because that's something we definitely need some action steps. I know we're going to have it. So it's not a minority asking for that. It is the entirety of the city asking for accuracy on that. So I want to thank you on that. And you know what? I move for the adoption of report.
We have a motion, a second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. All right. I'm like, where the hell am I? Next up, we've got Committee on Traffic and Transportation, Councilman Seekins. Got a motion and a second.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it.
Can I
Or
just one
nay.
thing?
Oh, sorry.
Just very briefly, Mr. Mayor, one of the things that we did do, and I just want to make it sort of public here, we did unanimously affirm the resolution in support of Charleston County's Better North Bridge application. So I just want to make sure everyone knows that if we vote for this, we're voting as a council unanimously to support advancing safety and accessibility for all those in the city, particularly in the North Bridge area.
So far, we have all ayes.
Yeah.
Any nays?
Well, I just want to thank Chairman Seekins for pushing that along because it starts in my district. So I have a keen interest in it. So thank you and thanks to Katie and Charleston Moves.
Ayes have it unanimously. Moving on, we are.
Second.
Man, y'all are good, man. I appreciate this.
As amended.
As amended.
With the mayor's recusal on number
With
10.
mayor's recusal on whichever one that was.
Yes.
Number 10.
And the deferral of the two Beast Ferry Road annexations and the first readings of the other annexations.
Okay, we have a motion second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it. All right, now we are on to bills up for second reading.
Take 1 through 12.
All right, we have motion and a second. Take bills 1 through 12. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
I have a nay on, sorry, y'all are going too fast. Thank you. 5. Nay on 5.
All right, there's one nay on item number 5, Councilmember Parker.
Thank you. And 6.
And number 6.
All right, so we've gotten 1 through 12.
And now we're ready for third reading.
Now
I'll
we're-
move.
All right. I gotta catch up with you all now. All right, we have a motion and a second on third reading. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
You have
Let's
one.
have it.
You got to sign them while we're in session, so get going.
All right, if there's no further business, do need to go into an executive session. And the item that we will be discussing is to receive a legal update on the consideration regarding 10 Concord Street downtown. Councilman Appel. I got to turn. Good.
We're not in executive session, yes. I just want to make sure the record is clear that I'll be recusing myself from the executive session discussion on this item.
Thank you.
Don't take it easy. Don't take it easy.
This, we do need to vote to go into executive session. This is point of order.
We,
Can I have a motion to go into executive session? Have a second?
Second.
All those in favor of going into executive session, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Yeah. All right. I'm
Move to
gonna
come out of executive session.
Have a motion to come out of executive session. All those in favor, we have a motion and a second. We have all those in favor, say aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. We are out of executive session. No action was taken in executive session.
Mr. Mayor, if I can make a motion.
Seekings?
Yeah, I would move to direct legal staff and the mayor to continue condemnation proceedings as discussed for the public purpose of extending Waterfront Park to include 10 Concord Street.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. We have one nay.
All right.
Two
we
nays.
have 2 nays, Councilmember Shealy and Councilmember Parker.
Ayes have it. If there's no further business, move to adjourn. Have a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.